Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to The Best of Both Worlds, a show where we will be discussing contemporary youth issues and how we can face these issues through practical ways and approaches. Today we have with us renowned scholar Sayyid Zafar Abbas, currently resident in Husseiniya Mosque. Some of the questions that we will be mentioning in this program is going to be affected with all of our lives. For example, work, life and spirituality, as well as university life, and how we can balance out our professional lives with spirituality. Today's topic will be spirituality and professionalism. Let's start off by asking the first question over to Sayyid. Sayyid, how can we balance our professional life with our spiritual life?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. I think this is probably the most important question that a lot of people who are watching the show would be asking themselves. And there's a number of ways that we would approach this question, but the first way, or the first emphasis that we have to place is that in terms of balancing our professional life with our spirituality, it's a challenge. There's no question that it is a challenge. That being known and understood, we now have to work on how we're going to approach this challenge and how we're going to bring that balance into our lives.
So often I find in my professional life, I went to university, I graduated, and after graduation, now working sometimes from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the evening. I come back home and I struggle sometimes. I do my wajibat, but the extra push, how do I find it? Where do I get that motivation from to balance both these things?
Yes. So if we break down our day and we do a muhasabah, so the religion Islam asks us to every day before we go to sleep do a muhasabah. Muhasabah means to account for what we did in that whole day. So in my head, if it helps, you can write it down, but in your head, when you're lying on the pillow before you go to sleep, you need to think about what you did in that whole day. So what time did you get up? When you got up, what did you do? Then when you left, on the way to work, what did you do at work? When you came home?
Self-reflection.
Reflection, right? So this is what religion expects us to do every single day. We'll find when we do that it will force us to reflect on the time that we're not accounting for.
Cool.
Okay, this is similar to, for example, when you are concerned about your health and you seek advice from a nutritionist and from a personal trainer and so on and so forth. And the first thing they tell you is that make a account of what you're eating, right?
Absolutely.
If this is what you want to do, and you've done it before, and we've done it, and everyone knows, right? So now we got the apps as well. So you put it in the app. This is what I had at this time, and when you do that, you realize where you're going wrong, where the problem is, right? So the first thing is doing the muhasabah. That if I put this into my the way that I would enter the food into my plan so that I don't go over the calories per day. Similarly, if I were to put in what am I doing from the moment I wake up till the moment I sleep, I'll find that there's times in between from the moment I woke up to the moment that I went to bed that I can use more productively.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Cool.
So that's the first thing. We have to identify those times, okay, where we are definitely doing something else. So we have to bring that. Why am I doing that something else? Because I think even if I don't say this, I think by doing this is a priority in my life. So I have to bring my spirituality as a matter of priority into my life, and then identify those times in between. So for example, I'll give you an example. That when you wake up in the morning, you know that you need this much time to get ready.
Absolutely.
Okay? Everybody knows.
Every morning.
Everybody knows. Okay? You know that because you need to get to work at 8 o'clock, for example. So you know you have to wake up at 7 o'clock so that you can do everything that you need to do so that you can get to work on time. Yeah?
Cool. I'm with you.
We all know that, okay? So now what we need to do is to say to myself that in that time that I don't leave the house without doing. So for example, I'll use an example that we all do. That I would never leave the house without brushing my teeth, for example.
Cool.
Or I would never leave my house without brushing my hair. Okay? Yeah, or you wouldn't leave the house without wearing, especially like nowadays with the weather, you wouldn't leave the house without wearing appropriate clothing. So similar, just like you have these things are your priorities. If you want to enhance your spirituality within that time frame, before you leave, you add this into your schedule, that I'm going to schedule. So for example, it takes 3 minutes to brush my teeth, right? Or it takes me 10 minutes to get dressed. For example, I'm talking about guys here. Obviously for the ladies it might take a bit longer to get ready. But let's just talk, we're talking about guys for the moment, just for the sake of the example. So you say, I need 3 minutes to brush my teeth. Okay. So now what I want to do is that baby steps, okay? Because we can't expect to go straight away. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as when you go to the gym for the first time. I'm using all these health examples because these are things that
you're relating to me quite a bit. Actually.
Because these are things that we're already doing, right? So we can relate to it easily.
To be honest, I went gym 2-3 months, gained a lot of weight. Then I just left for 1 month. I took a break. Everything went completely.
So here we could use that as an example. We'll come to that. Hold that thought. So with the first time you go to the gym, if you look at that 100 kilo weight and you think, one day I'm going to pick that up. But obviously first day you can't pick it up, right?
Of course.
You go baby steps. So that's why I'm using the example of brushing teeth, because it's the shortest thing that you're going to probably do before you leave in the morning. And you do it every day. Every single day you do it, okay? So it takes you 3 minutes. So you say to yourself that this action which takes me 3 minutes is an essential part of my schedule, right? I can leave XYZ thing and leave the house, but I will never ever leave the house without brushing my teeth, okay? So similarly, if I was to replace something else in that schedule of mine before I leave the house with something that would give me spiritual upliftment, even if it's for 3 minutes, okay? So I'll give you another example. So instead of doing whatever thing that I'm doing else after brushing my teeth, soon as I've brushed my teeth, for 3 minutes I'm going to read some Quran. Just 3 minutes, okay? And that's going to be part of my schedule, okay?
In the morning.
In the morning, okay? So, and then you ask me, well, how do I fit this into my schedule? So I'll give you a solution for that as well. So every single one of us, probably everyone who's watching will also relate. As soon as you wake up, the first thing you do is you look at your phone. Yeah? 99%
we are living in that world.
99% of people, the first thing you do as soon as you wake up is you look at your phone. Okay? So instead of the first thing you do when you wake up, look at your phone, and then maybe spend even if you're very quick, a few minutes on your phone, you remove that and say that as soon as I wake up, I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm going to spend that 3 minutes reading Quran, that time which I would have spent looking at my phone. Okay?
Very interesting.
So this is I'm giving a practical example of how we could incorporate spirituality into my life. And the reason why I'm saying that we should do that the first thing in the morning is because it will fix your day. Right? It will give
the words of the Quran, basically.
Right, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you begin your day with the word of God, it will positively affect everything that happens on that day. Okay? Why? Because you made God a priority in your life.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So now God's saying that you made me a priority in your life, I'm going to make you a priority. Right?
Okay.
It's very simple. Okay? So that's why lots of time people would ask me, I get lots of messages about, I have this issue, I have that issue, what should I do, what should I recite, is there anything that I can read in order to fix it? Okay, so most of the time I say to them that try and put this in your routine and do it in the morning. Now sometimes I get replies saying, can we do it at a different time? Morning is about a struggle. Okay, I was like, that's part of the reason why I've said this.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you do it in the morning, it's going to fix your day
completely.
It's going to transform your day, and it's going to give you that what we were saying earlier, the motivation for spiritual upliftment. Okay, because you started the day by reflecting on the words of God, and when you read it for 3, so I'm saying this as the bare minimum. When you read it for 3 minutes, read the translation as well and reflect over it. Right? The Quran wants me to read and to understand it and to reflect over it. Right? So if I opened a passage and I read, for example, in 3 minutes, maybe I could read a page, for example. Okay? And on that page, I read the translation, and there's a story, or there's a ruling, or there is a commandment within those verses.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would be able to reflect on that in my day, right? Because then now I've got to work, okay, and now my day has begun. Now there's going to be things going on in my day, and who knows that thing which I read in the morning relates to something that's going to happen in my day. Okay? Right? And I would be able to say, yes, I know the answer to this. Why? Because in this morning, the passage that I read from the Quran is relating to what's happening in my day today. Okay?
Sure, yes.
And it's giving me, and of course, so number one, that's a practical element of it. Number two, it's already giving me that spiritual boost that I need in order to, just like if we keep on with the gym examples, just like when you have the protein shake in the morning, right? In order to boost your
muscle,
your thing, right? So that you can it fixes it for the day. So you say the day you're training,
you've got enough protein.
You have it in the morning, and then you have it after you've done your training. Okay.
To get your calories.
To get your thing up. Okay. So I'm using that same example because it's something
you're doing in the morning is going to carry on throughout the day.
Absolutely.
Help you with your professional life, because you might ponder over it while you're working.
Absolutely.
And it'll help your spirituality as well, because you've read the word of God.
Okay. So now this is what you did when you're still home. We woke up. This is what you did. Okay. Now you're on the way to work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now most people, when they're on the way to work,
as is the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the second bit of advice. So most people, on the way to work, commute takes time. Okay. In Birmingham, maybe the commutes are a bit shorter. Maybe it takes half an hour. If you live in London, 1 hour commute is the minimum. Okay. Everyone commutes for 1 hour each way. Okay. So that means we have got 2 hours to do something. Okay. Right? And now those 2 hours, if I'm not doing anything, then that's 2 hours of my life that I wasted, which could have been productive. Right? So we've got example, we've got podcasts. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying don't listen to podcasts, but I'm saying again, can that be a time where you could use that for spiritual upliftment?
Absolutely.
Answer is yes. Okay? So whether it's reading, or it's listening to something, okay, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a, it's a lecture, whether it's a, some kind of thing. That is a 1 hour commute that way, 1 hour commute this way. You've got time to reflect, and it can be something to unwind, especially if you're listening to something and you're reading. It's very relaxing, right?
Quran, for example.
So you can use that to unwind as well. Okay, now it's up to you. Like I said, it's up to you. You can either listen to a recitation of Holy Quran, or you can listen to a lecture, or you can listen to a dua. Okay, or you can listen to something that would spiritually elevate. Okay, or for example, you can have a schedule like, okay, so Monday to Friday I've got 5 days. I'm gonna one day pick a day to listen to a different thing each day, so you don't there's no monotonous, right? You're listening to different things each day. That is also a way to enhance your spirituality and use that time, right? Because you know that time, you have to use it. You have to commute.
Yeah, you might as well make the most of it.
So you need to maximize that time and do something with that time to make it worthwhile. Okay, and that's your second thing. Now, whilst you're at work, okay, so these are your two things
we've spoken about before work.
Right. So this is before. Now, whilst you're at work, okay. Now, in this scenario, this is something very important. Because I remember a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I was on Ziyarat, and we got the opportunity to have a meeting with Ayat al-Sistani, Hafidhullah. And so I asked him a question. I asked him that I sit with young people, I work with young people, and they often ask me for advice. They ask me, so what do you think that I should advise them? So he gave me a whole series of advice, lots of things. One of the things that he told me, very interesting. So he said to me that remember that every single one of you who lives in that country is a person who represents Islam in and of themselves.
Okay, cool.
Because wherever we're living in a non-Muslim country, we are representing Islam in and of ourselves, every individual. So he says that advise them. He says, I'm advising you, and you advise them, that everything that you do will be seen, whether you like it or not, will be seen as representing Islam. Okay. So that means that you can see this in two ways. It is a big responsibility. Everything that I do,
your akhlaq has to be on point.
Will represent Islam. But also, it is a big opportunity at the same time. Okay. Why? Because there's two kinds of people. A friend of mine said this once to me. I really like it, so I'm quoting it again. He says there's two kinds of people. There's a kind of person who sees a non-Muslim and says, oh, he's a non-Muslim, he's going to go to hell. Okay, that's unfortunately a lot of Muslims. And then he says there's another type of person, and this type of person sees a non-Muslim and he thinks this person is potentially a Muslim. This person has potential to become Muslim. We just need to help that person to become Muslim. Okay. Now maybe that person doesn't become Muslim, and that's not my responsibility either. Okay. But what my responsibility is to act in such a way that when it comes to faith, when it comes to Islam, that person has a positive representation of Islam. Why? This is very important. And I realized this when I worked with non-Muslims extensively, with people of other faith and even people with no faith. Why? Because most people, irrespective of what we say, what we do and whatever, most people, all they know about Islam is from the media, and mostly the media always picks up on the negative aspects, right? So it's my responsibility to negate that effect. Why? Because it's a personal touch. If I'm working with someone, his desk is next to my desk, and we're interacting the whole day, or multiple times a day,
spending hours and hours and hours with that
together,
person.
right? You're sitting there together. He's observing you. You're observing them.
Now you've reminded me. I actually in my workplace managed to convert someone into Islam, but we can talk about this later on. We're just going to go on to a break now. We'll follow on later on. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.